Hello, I'm Carole Sawo. Why do people crack up? What is it about, and why does it happen to, I would want to say all of us, but I'm just going to be just a bit economical and say nearly all of us. There are some common things that I have created this video because I think a lot of people in their experience of cracking up think it's only them and think that it's a really abnormal experience and that they need to kind of dose themselves up or that they're broken in some way and can't repair. And so I've made this video for you because obviously now's a time when lots of people are under one of the categories I've got in front of me. So let me get straight onto it. The first reason why people apparently crack up, and by the way, you're fine, you're going to be fine. So just come through this tutorial and let me teach you what's going on. First reason, loss. Now, loss can involve losing somebody that we're in a relationship with, and it can be losing money, losing a home, or losing a previous life, such as your identity. So at the moment, a lot of people are going through losses, but actually what is the problem, why it can feel like you're cracking up, is because of something called attachment. So you're attached to that person, to your previous career, to your life, to your home, and your experience of loss is that you're grieving. Now, you might have a major one loss, or it might be that, in my view, in my observations, that you can have 3 losses in a short space of time, and that is enough to send any of us a bit cuckoo. And the thing is, the mind can only take so much. And if you hurt your leg, then if you bruise your leg, everybody can see that. Now, the problem with the mind is people can't see the mind. And the only thing they can really see on scanners and things are when they scan the brain. Now, the problem with that is hopefully nobody's got anything serious in their brain. So what we're not looking at brain, we're looking at mind. And that's why I've made this video, because you'll find very little literature anywhere on these things I'm going to talk about. What happens to the inside of our mind? Well, in sudden loss, if you've lost somebody significantly, or you've maybe moved to a new place and so you've lost your social network, then this is a major area, this area of losses of our attachments. Now, in life, we all have to go through losses of attachments, and it's the way we navigate our way through that depends on how well we come out the other side. And I just want to tell you that I've got 5 causes of cracking up in front of me, but I'm also going to give you the remedies for it. And so when you're looking at something like loss, then personally, I think you should cry it out. I think you should journal it out, right? Get yourself a journal, write in that, and you should take your time. So I'm going to give you full permission to take your time in dealing with losses. And just because other people get impatient or they can't see what you're going through, doesn't mean you're not going through it. So don't let them add pressure onto what you're already dealing with. Take your time, be nice to yourself, grieve the loss of whatever it is you've just lost. And then you will grow into the next chapter, but I'm going to say more about that in a moment. The next thing that people, why they crack up, pressure. Now, the pressure's on at the moment, isn't it? Lots of people are changing their careers, losing their jobs and this kind of thing. But there's a great mind strategy, if you can, to take whatever it is that's putting the pressure on, put it to one side, because you do still have a right to be happy and have fun and live, even though we have all of these pressures on us. Now, what pressure does to the mind is it kind of, the back axle of a car, and I'm not a mechanic, so guys, bear with me. You put pressure on the back axle, and the back axle has got a certain tolerance before it will break and snap. And that's what I think our mind is like too. So we all have an individual tolerance. And I personally think that if we get anywhere near our, breakable point, an alarm should go off and people should back off and leave us alone. Of course they don't. And they put more pressure on. So what happens is the mind takes the pressure, and then all of a sudden it can cave in and it can split. And so we don't want that to happen. When the mind starts to split, things get a bit wobbly on the inside there, and you'll experience some kind of weird internal dynamics. I'll say more about that in a moment when I get on to the next one. So the remedy is to remove the stressor. And it can be that you physically or take yourself away from something, whatever's causing you the stress, just stop it. Your mind is everything. If you smash your mind, it takes a while to recover, and then you can be a millionaire. It means nothing. Richness comes from the inside, not from your bank balance. So I'm teaching you mind investments here to repair you and get you back onto track. And so you need to cancel that very thing that's caused you the pressure, if you can, or if not, learn to develop a mind muscle where you put that thing over to one side, and you need, like a bruise on the leg, you need time for your mind to heal, and it will naturally come back together again. So what I'm teaching you is all natural remedies too. The other thing I'm going to say with pressure is nobody puts pressure on you like you do. So just let me make this technical. Stop it. Can you stop beating yourselves up? Because honestly, that is a false program that got dropped into the collective unconscious years ago. It was an old parental tool that went horribly wrong, and now people grow up beating themselves up. So that is untrue. So if you're beating yourself up, you need to convert that immediately. It's an old program, it's redundant, it's not working for you. Drop it from your psychology immediately. The next thing why people crack up, isolation. Now, there's also an upside to being on your own, because in times when you're on your own, you really can learn a lot about yourself. And I think sometimes they're the most valuable times. When we're with other people, the reason why we start to get a bit wobbly when we're on our own is because I'm talking to you now, so it's conscious to consciousness. We are also communicating unconsciously, but I won't go into that for now. What I'm going to tell you is, when you are on your own, you kind of, your centre of reference, your thinking, instead of it being sort of between people, it goes internal, so it becomes between consciousness and unconsciousness. And then it can feel like you're cracking up because your characteristics seem to take on energy in themselves and become characters. We do have characters in the mind. I won't go into too much depth psychology or too much archetypal analysis, but really we have, the ego, the inner child, the superego. Now, I've written about these in a little program I've written. So if isolation is the problem that you're dealing with, whip over to my website, and then I've got a little course for you on managing the mind in isolation. Because the thing is, what also you don't have in isolation is often motivation and structure and purpose. And I've timetabled it all for you, so I've sorted that for you. Again, journaling if you're on your own, because this is a process. Instead of feeling that you're on your own, you're cracking up, why don't you journal it? Because you're going to learn so much about yourself. Invaluable lessons get learned when you're on your own, and they might be the more difficult lessons, but they are long-term the more valuable lessons, because the more you learn about how to manage yourself when you're under these stresses that I've pointed out here, then the more you'll develop the mind muscles to get yourself back out of it as well. So it's no big deal, things happen. The next one, this might surprise you, spiritual rookie. I want to say fake gurus too. Now, I think spirituality is great, so definitely incorporate that into your world. But the problem is now everybody's taking old knowledge, we call it old wine in new bottles, and they're regurgitating it and coming out with these brand new techniques, and isn't it wonderful, and it's all amazing, and they're headlong into something. And if you're a spiritual rookie, you'll think it's amazing and you'll follow them, and then oops, what I find every single time on whether it's from yoga to anything into states of consciousness, everybody takes you there, but they're not going to tell you the pitfalls. So I'm going to tell you the pitfalls. And so this is an element too of religion here. So I'm just going to talk about the word sin. Sin doesn't mean you're guilty and hellfire and brimstone. Sin is an archery term. Go to any dictionary, pick it up, have a look. It just means to fall short of the mark. That's it. You erred. That's where we get the word error from. You just erred. You just fell short of the mark, perhaps spiritually, or there's a lesson to learn in that. So sometimes, there's everything to be said for autonomy. Autonomy means you're capable of independent thinking. So in spirituality, then I would highly recommend that you listen to everybody, but only you make your mind up. Don't become too adoring and amazed by other people. That is not the goal of spirituality. The goal of spirituality is for you to incorporate a spiritual aspect to your human experience and to integrate the two, not to go headlong and start omming when you don't understand things like frequencies and kundalini, which is a red flag word if you are a rookie. Because what can happen is you start to go into this very lovely arena, and then you could have a spontaneous awakening. And what that means is everything in the unconscious part of your mind that is unhealed, so childhood wounds, fears and anxieties, can come tumbling out of the unconscious cupboard into consciousness and then into your real life, which can make you feel very weird. It's matrix territory here. And so spirituality, definitely integrate it, but do it slowly and then allow yourself time to process. The other thing I'm going to say here is about the ego. As far as I know, the only person teaching you this, you need your ego in spirituality. Everybody else is going to teach you to not be ego, and they've given it a bad rep. But I'll just give you this question. Do you really think you were given your ego as a mistake? No. It's supposed to be in the passenger seat, not the driver's seat. So you need to make friends with it because it's your powerhouse. But also, this is an internal dialogue that you have with yourselves. So use spirituality to kind of make sense of that aspect of your mind. But the main thing here is do it on your own, do it slowly, and don't headlong, because it can take you into a really weird place. It does get mystical in there, and all of these things that I've told you so far are sticky. So they're like getting off a train at a station where it's unfamiliar and a bit lost, and it can be, different people are going to tell you different things and you'll go down lots of rabbit holes. So I don't want you to do that. If you end up in any of these weird places, I just want you to know that you can repair naturally. You don't need to, suddenly start chucking this next thing I've got here down your neck, drugs. Now, the thing is about drugs is all drugs change your brain chemistry. Just think about that for a moment. They're designed to. So whether you're taking a paracetamol to put a gate on neural communication, and alleviate pain, that's changed something in your brain. But then at the hard end, you've got things like cocaine, and that burns out your brain cells. And so what I often find is in student life, in universities, some students start to crack up quite simply because they've got too much knowledge coming into the brain, keeping too many neurons alive, because obviously you're trying to, because it's your exam. And the mind needs time to digest and process information. So I'm talking about drugs on the brain, but I'm talking about how you manage your mind. Lots of people think the mind is just kind of an airy, fairy thing, and it's your brain that you focus on. And I'm telling you, it's the other way. Your mind is not. Your mind is that constructs your world and you. And we reincarnate ourselves throughout life. So here's the thing. If you decide to, and initially drugs, sort of recreational drugs, I don't even like that term actually. I don't think there's anything playful about putting cocaine up your nose. or taking any form of drug that affects you at the neurological cellular level, because your mind, as I've already said, has a certain amount of tolerance, and then in the end it might just say, do you know what, I give up, so go for it. If that's happened, I've done a free video on the addictive mechanism that we all have inside of us. And the thing is about all of this, look, let me show you. There's the four that life brings us anyway. Life can bring this anyway. And so if you are putting hard drugs in with this mix, then sometimes what can happen is people create internal psychological chaos. It's called drug-induced psychosis. And you definitely, then you've not just got the problem you're dealing with, you've got a whole load of other problems too to have to work through. All in all, we are only human. Well, for the sake of this video, I'm going to say we're only human. And what that means is the mind needs to be looked after. You wouldn't run a marathon every day, and yet in pressure, that's what you're doing. You wouldn't sensibly follow somebody into dreamland, but if you've not got a spiritual anchor, that is what you're doing. And when it comes to loss, we can't do anything about that here, but what we can do about it is learn to create a process within ourselves where we manage ourselves well. So all of this that's happened, all of the things I've been talking about, why people crack up, all of them are perfectly natural and normal. That is something I want you to take away from this video, because I know what happens is people think, oh my God, I'm cracking up, I'm not going to tell anybody because I'll just keep it private to myself. And then you have your sort of secret worry world that you create. And I'm just throwing the doors open on that. You're not. You're the same as everybody else. Okay, we all have losses. We lose our jobs. We lose our money. And then sometimes we just mess up. Sometimes we spend too long on the laptop. And that can cause us to crack up because just too much blue light coming off of electronic devices. Not good for our mind or our brain. Now, so what's the remedy really? Well, it's very simple. Time. And you need the right people in your life, and you need to go out and walk about in nature, because especially in the woods, I'm always saying this because of the brain chemistry in the trees are excellent at resetting your brain and therefore your mind. And you need to just give yourself permission to put the pause button on and start from where you are. You might benefit from some counselling, but essentially what I find is that allow the mind to bring itself back together again, and that is the job and the role of your ego. And you want it spinning in the right direction and not in the wrong direction where you're going to fragment. And so take your time, and I hope something I've said today has eased your mind so you feel more normal than you might have done when I first started this video. Don't panic, everything's going to be fine. Take your time, close things down that have caused it in the first place, and go back to nature. Take care of yourselves. Catch you next time. Bye for now.